The morning light seeps through the curtains, casting a gentle glow on the room. The first stirrings of awareness bring Jungkook into consciousness, and as he blinks against the cold morning light, a wave of discomfort washes over him. The warmth of the bed is juxtaposed with the tenderness in the most vulnerable places of his body, a lingering reminder of the passion shared in the night. He shifts, and the dull ache intensifies, causing him to squirm involuntarily. Each movement is met with a twinge of discomfort, and a quick survey of the bed reveals the man still lost in peaceful sleep beside him, the tangled sheets bearing witness to their shared exposed. Jungkook feels a knot tightening in his stomach, a silent realization that quiet escape is the only option. The desire to slip away unnoticed becomes a visceral need as he contemplates the consequences of the night's scene. Shami wraps around him like a suffocating shroud, and the weight of his own vulnerability becomes an unbearable burden. The room, once a place of open connection, now feels like a cage, the remnants of their passion haunting him. Jungkook carefully maneuvers himself out of the bed, and with each hesitant step, he becomes acutely aware of his needs. The cool air of the room embraces him, and the dim light exposes every inch of his body, adorned with marks and imprints that tell the tale of their shared exploration. Jungkook steals a glance at the sleeping figure, the man who unknowingly became both the source of his pleasure and the catalyst for his shame. The internal dialogue is a cacophony of conflicting emotions, but the urgency to escape prevails. He tiptoes across the room, a silent intruder in the aftermath of desire. The closet's door opens with a muted sigh, revealing a refuge where he can reclaim the remnants of his identity. His clothes, abandoned in the night, lie strewn on the floor. Jungkook bends to gather them, the fabric cool against his hands, a stark contrast to the warmth that still lingers on his skin. Caught in the act of escape, Jungkook's eyes meet the reflection in the full-length mirror. The room's silence becomes an backdrop to the vulnerability laid bare. His gaze travels down the expanse of his nature, every inch a canvas bearing the traces of their creation. Jungkook's fingers trail along his shoulder, inadvertently discovering the deep teeth mark imprinted there, an unintended signature of the night's intensity. His touch lingers over the indentations, a tactile reminder of the primal force that had possessed them both in the throes of passion. As he turns his attention downward, the full extent of the marks on his body comes into view. The mirror reflects a canvas of vulnerability, with his bearing the dark red imprints of Taehyung's firmness and the bruises from the man's roughness. Each mark holds a moment, a testament to the unbridled passion that had unfolded in the intimacy of the night. The reflection in the mirror becomes a silent narrative of submission, desire, and the trace of vulnerability left in the wake of their shared night. Jungkook, still dressed in the aftermath, takes a moment to absorb the visual echoes of their tangled liaison. The dark red imprints and bruised hues on his skin mirror the complexities of submission, beauty and pain interwoven in a dance of desire. A shiver of shame courses through him as he takes one last, lingering look at his reflection. The mirror, a merciless witness to the consequences, reflects the choices made in the dim light of desire. In the seclusion of the closet, Jungkook dresses with a measured silence, each rustle of fabric a stark painful reminder of the decisions taken in the confines of the night. The clothes, now a shield against the shame lingering in the air, feel like a tentative armor, offering a semblance of protection from the repercussions of his own vulnerability. His fingers fumble with buttons and zippers, a mechanical distraction from the whirlwind of thoughts that threaten to consume him. Shami, like an insidious shadow, clings to him, tightening its grip with every article of clothing donned. The room behind him, still cloaked in the residue of shared desires, becomes a distant memory he wishes to escape. His movements are slow and deliberate, every creak of the floor beneath his feet echoing in the quiet room. He steals a last glance at Taehyung, still lost in dreams, and a twinge of guilt tugs at Jungkook's conscience. As he reaches for the doorknob, the room seems to hold its breath. The door inches open with no sound, and Jungkook slips into the living room, exhaling a breath he didn't realize he was holding. The house, bathed in the cold January morning light, is a stark contrast to the intensity of the previous night. Jungkook tiptoes down the room with his shoes in one hand and his backpack in another. The weight of his actions settles on his shoulders, leaving him torn between the desire to escape and the unspoken connection forged in the darkness. A notepad on the coffee table catches his eye, and the sight of it sparks an idea. Next to it lies the same yellow envelope, and photographs of them scattered on top of it, frozen moments from a night that now feels like a distant memory. Jungkook decides to leave a note, a silent farewell. He places his shoes and backpack by the sofa and lowers himself to the floor, the pen in his hand a hesitant extension of his conflicted feelings. Opening the notebook, he bites his lip, the tremble in his hand mirrored in the first uncertain lines of the pen. I know I promised you the night yesterday. But perhaps I should say that it was a goodbye night. I'm not regretting what happened, but I guess it's still my goodbye. I hope our paths never cross again. I'm so sorry. Goodbye, Taehyung. Once yours, Jungkook. The ink dries slowly, the weight of the words settling into the paper. With a heavy sigh, Jungkook places the pen back on the coffee table. In the quiet of the living room, Jungkook hesitates for a fleeting moment, his eyes lingering on the scattered photographs atop the coffee table. The memories captured in those snapshots feel like relics of a time that now stands on the precipice of goodbye. Among the images, one in particular catches his eye, the one from the park in the dark evening. The yellow lights cast a warm glow, and their intertwined hands and carefree smiles freeze a moment of shared joy. It's a tangible reminder of the connection that had blossomed between them, a connection now fraying at the edges. Jungkook, with a mix of reluctance and yearning, reaches for that photograph, his fingers grazing the glossy surface. He slides it into his backpack, a silent memento of a moment that blurred the lines between them once. With the stolen photograph safely tucked away, he quietly collects his belongings and makes his way toward the elevator, each step carrying the weight of his choices. The threshold becomes his own symbolic divide between the memories left behind and the uncertainty ahead. And then he presses the button, once again scanning the room that he promises himself to never meet again. As soon as he gets down to the ground floor, the doors open and he realizes it's time to face his harsh reality again. Jungkook navigates the still quiet by the early hour hall. His footsteps carry the weight of the shared night. The morning sunlight, once a gentle caress, now exposes the vulnerabilities he'd willingly surrendered in the darkness. His fingers trace over the marks on his neck, souvenirs of the passion shared. Shami wraps around him like a shroud, tightening with each heartbeat. The intensity of the connection he sought, now laid bare in the harsh light of day, becomes a source of internal turmoil. What have I done? The question reverberates in the recesses of his mind. The escape he sought from the complexities of his emotions is morphed into a maze of regret. The shame intensifies as he recalls the whispered pleas, the desperate words that spilled from his lips in the heat of the moment. He slips past the concierge, staring at the floor, and when the doorman opens the door for him, Jungkook hurries to leave the building as quickly as possible. The frosty morning air immediately burns his skin, but he inhales a full breath and closes his eyes. I let go too much. I showed him parts of myself I never shouldn't have. The internal dialogue is a harsh self-indictment, a judgmental voice that amplifies the dissonance within. As Jungkook rushes down the street, the thought of escape becomes both a physical and emotional imperative. The desire to distance himself from the reason of his shame, from Taehyung, to conceal the vulnerabilities exposed in the night, propels him forward. He glances over his shoulder, hoping to leave behind the echoes of her embarrassment that now feels tainted by self-reproach. The boy pulls his jacket tighter around him, as if the fabric can shield him from the residual warmth and shame that cling to his skin. The weight of the stolen photograph presses against his back, a tangible reminder of the person who made him feel too much. Who made Jungkook become weak again, too dependent on the stupid desires of his stupid heart. With every step, the distance between him and the apartment grows, and Jungkook battles the conflicting currents of relief and regret swirling within him. He glances back one last time at the building. The cityscape stretches before him, a vast canvas of possibilities and uncertainties. The jacket, a feeble shield against the winter cold, fails to provide the comfort he seeks. As he walks, an involuntary quiet whimper escapes his lips, a quiet testament to the physical reminder of their shared